ready for the next battle. Tekken 8! New Challenger!
Hey everyone, and welcome back to UI Spy, the series where I analyze the UI of upcoming video games. Tekken has always had some fascinating UI to me. Granted, I've only ever played a couple of the games. I'm not really good at any of them, especially compared to like Smash or Guilty Gear, but regardless if I'm watching at EVO or playing with friends casually, I always get hyped up when I play it, and I think it's a combination of the UI and sound design. It gives me that feeling of being in an arcade with everything just blasting and blaring at me that I don't really see in a lot of other fighting games. And after playing at PAX West, I'm happy to report that Bandai Namco is continuing this trend with Tekken 8 and making the UI even flashier than before. So let's take a look at everything we've seen so far with Tekken 8 and get ready for the next battle. As of this video, the menus aren't finalized yet, as more game modes have yet to be available to us, but we've gotten some snippets from the closed network test and PAX West that are worth mentioning. The title screen is an awesome contrast to that of Tekken 7, as Kazuya will be the main focal point in the game's story, as opposed to Heihachi, who is dead in this game. Kazuya's devil eye glowing whenever you press a button is a super cool touch. It makes this title screen more visually appealing than any other fighting game that's come out recently. We also saw a preview of what the main menu will most likely look like. Again, Kazuya's head is at the forefront with simple modes for ranked match, battle tutorial, option, and news. It's nearly identical to 7's, except selected options are fully highlighted in red instead of being underlined with a soft blue line. There seems to be a lot of red motifs seen throughout the UI, most likely to signify Kazuya's Devil Gene and the Kazuya vs Jin storyline in general. One quick thing, whenever you select a side either left or right, it features Jin and Kazuya respectively, instead of Mokujin. Not only does this perfectly fit within the game's main story fight, but it's another tiny indicator to help players decide which side they want to be on during gameplay. A critical decision for 3D fighting games, especially Tekken. The character select screen is pretty interesting this time around too. The character icons are much smaller and flatter, like in Guilty Gear Strive. The character select screen itself is also identical to Street Fighter 6, with you seeing an animated model of your selected character as the cursor hovers over it, which is awesome to see. We can see silhouettes of people in the crowd cheering for you, setting the stage for fights. Tekken also takes a page from Street Fighter by adding in the nationality, fighting style, height, and weight to each character. This extra level of detail is a nice addition that I'm glad to see in more fighting games. It contextualizes each character and gives players more of a reason to select one or the other. The stage selection screen is more minimalistic too, with the background image taking up all of the screen instead of just a small portion of it. The stage boundaries, walls, and etc. are simplified to just a simple diagram, placing a greater focus on the stage art, which is beautifully detailed as ever. The stage name uses a basic white font with no outlines or crazy 3D effects. The design seems like it's going to get updated when the game comes out, especially when new stages get added. I prefer the newer design, yeah, but it takes away from some of the flashy arcade feel found in the previous menu. Unfortunately, the
"Get ready for the next battle"
is practically gone now, and the pre-match screen is just two opposing character portraits, a boring versus text, the stage name, and the character names. The character names do repeat in the background, which is a nice touch, with some Japanese brushstroke style font, and reminds me of how character names are displayed in Street Fighter 4. I can understand this being simpler, as the shorter load times of the PS5 and Xbox make it so players don't have to look at this for too long. But I do miss how cool it was in 7, and I hope at least the "get ready for the next battle" returns. The Rage Art and Rage Drive aren't displayed anymore either, as the normal input for Rage Art will be universal for each character, 4 diagonal down, and both punch attacks. Rage Drive itself is being replaced by the Heat Dash, and is the R1 or RB button, so it makes sense to have this display being removed. The ever-popular character customization obviously returns in Tekken 8 with some really cool additions. Now finally, shoes and the lower body are separated, yet this isn't the case for hands and upper body. Why they do one and not both, I honestly don't know. But what's awesome is, like in the Soul Calibur games, you can finally adjust the position and the scale of objects that you put on your character. Really cool stuff. Sadly, the really cool garage setting of Tekken 7 is completely replaced with this basic white background looking like the Xbox 360 avatar maker. Very disappointing, so hopefully this is just a placeholder and they replace it in the final version. Very minor detail, but in Tekken 7 the menus used to be at this slight angle, but everything was still sort of flat, whereas in Tekken 8 everything is completely flattened. It's like the Windows 10 versus Windows 11 logo, if that makes sense. Minor change, but still noticeable enough. Overall, the menu seems very exciting, and it seems to be more in-depth than the awesome one in Tekken 7, so I'm excited to see what crazy creations people will make. Going through these screens makes me fascinated with how similar trends are shared among modern fighting games, despite being made by similar developers. Not just with the minimal UI design choices, but the approach to the overall game design as well. Now let's take a look at the UI that players see during combat. The flashy arcade feel of the UI from previous Tekkens is still there, but it's definitely more modernized. The fonts use a single color instead of just the two-tone gradient featured in Tekken 7, such as the character names using a white and black gradient instead of just a simple white font. The fonts themselves are also more neutral and easy to read, meaning they don't have a flashy personality. The
fight
and
great
text feature a cool red flame behind them, adding some spice to the presentation of the text that would otherwise be lost. Character portraits have changed on them like the logo does in the promotional material, which is an interesting theme. I wonder if it's going to play into the story at all. When characters have low health and their rage art is available, instead of just outlining the bar with red flashes, extra red flames and shaders are added to the HP bar. This is incredible! It adds even more style to 7 and makes it easier for players to remember this is available to them. The new mechanic, Heat, contrasts well with the yellow HP bar, being a nice cool blue. When a player uses up their heat, the bar glows purple to let them know they're currently using it. When they run out of heat, the heat bar goes away completely, indicating it can't be used for the rest of the round. Now, real quick, can we please get Kiryu from Yakuza Like a Dragon in this game? I know it'll be weird, but like, come on. We have a gameplay system that is literally the same name as that from this series. It's a no-brainer. If they're gonna add him now, now's the perfect time to do it. Now, let's get back to UI real quick. The timer font is more rounded and smooth compared to the Inkle font of 7's. It's also in black instead of in white, which is a bit harder to read for me. As I mentioned in the previous UI Spy, having white text against darker backgrounds has greater contrast so it's easier to read for most people. That's why dark mode on phones, computers, and Discord is very popular these days. But with the yellow and orange HP bars and the blue heat bar, using black to match those colors better makes a bit more sense. The texture split which current round you're on is separated into white and red respectively for round and the number of round you're on. And the number of round you're on itself is much larger. This is another genius design choice. It makes it easier to see at a quick glance how far players are in the match, instead of both elements being the same color and size in Tekken 7. The character names are also a tiny bit smaller and easier to read, making it a good change and makes the players focus on the HP a bit more. From the brief online matches we saw, the placement of the Tekken power, rank, and username have all spread out, making the UI feel less cramped when playing online. I appreciate this change, and for casuals like me who don't know all of the characters' names offhand, we can see both the player character's name and their username on the same screen, which most fighting games typically do anyway, so I'm surprised 7 didn't have that in the first place. It's nice to see the UI still having those cool gradients and shaders and all those visual effects, despite being simplified and a bit more minimalistic. It helps players focus more on the flashy gameplay and character actions, and doesn't distract them, especially since the heat system and other gameplay mechanics are a greater focus in Tekken in general. Bandai Namco wants us to remember, while this may look and play similarly to 7, this is a new entry to the series and they want to make it better than ever before. Overall, Bandai Namco seems to be riding high off the massive success of Tekken 7, being the best-selling game in the series so far. It looks to be appealing to gamers all across the fighting game community, from the casual spectator to the most competitive players out there. It's awesome to see the flashiness and high-energy UI Tekken is known for still being there, instead of fully succumbing to modern minimalism and design trends like what happened in Guilty Gear Strive. Some parts of the UI are even more hype and flashy, which will make Tekken casuals like me more excited while playing or watching the game. I'm really excited to play this when it comes out next year and have a good time no matter how good or bad I am at the game. Anyways, that is all I've heard today. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see me talk about more UI in games, and thanks for watching. Bye!